The anime opens with an elderly couple tending to their apple orchard. Setu apologizes to his wife, Setu, for not being able to afford the honeymoon they wanted long ago. However, Ain reassures him, expressing contentment with their life together. They reminisce about a special apple tree they planted 60 years ago, which was damaged by a typhoon. As they inspect the tree, they notice a golden apple, sparking their surprise. Returning home, Setu reflects on his past regrets, feeling guilty for not providing Ain with a better life. He acknowledges her loyalty despite his shortcomings. Overwhelmed with emotion, he cries in the bathroom, only to discover that he has mysteriously regained his youth upon looking in the mirror. Rushing to Ain, he finds that she too has become young again, much to their astonishment. The elderly man becomes excited about the prospect of having a honeymoon with his wife. The following day, their granddaughter Mino visits and is taken aback by their youthful appearance. Despite the initial surprise, she is captivated by her handsome grandfather. When Mino's father, Yoshiaki, takes her home, she excitedly shares the news of her grandparents' rejuvenation, but Yoshiaki dismisses it as a joke. Meanwhile, neighbors in the park reminisce about missing the Setu couple, who used to visit frequently but had slowed down due to age and health. With their newfound youth, Setu becomes popular with elderly ladies, while Ain catches the attention of elderly men. In the past, Yoshiaki had urged his parents to move in with him due to their aging, but Setu insisted on staying on their ancestral land. As Yoshiaki continued to persuade his father, Ain worked alongside her daughter-in-law Kide in the kitchen. Kide asked Ain about her desires, to which Ain replied that as long as she could be with her husband, she was content with anything. In the present, Kade visits her in-laws to deliver some ingredients requested by Ain. To her surprise, she finds Setu looking remarkably young. Setu explains that Ain is at a community center meeting, assuming Kade already knew about their rejuvenation from their granddaughter. Seeing Kade's astonishment, Setu apologizes for not realizing her shock earlier. Completely taken aback, Kade excuses herself to the bathroom to process what she has just witnessed, realizing she now has a handsome father-in-law. Later, Kade calls her husband, who arrives with Mino. Yashiyuki is shocked to see his parents looking youthful, confirming Mino's earlier claims. He questions Kade for not informing him immediately, but she explains that she wanted to tell him in person. In the midst of the reunion, Mino clings to her grandfather, prompting Kai to scold her. Setu reassures Ain that he only has eyes for her, comforting his wife, while Yoshiaki is left speechless. However, Ain is displeased to see Mino so close to her husband and reprimands him with a slap across the face. After bidding farewell, Yoshiaki, his wife, and daughter head home as he needs to attend work. Ain expresses concern about her son overworking, and affectionately pets him, evoking memories of when he was a child, and she praised his hard work in a similar manner. Feeling left out, Mino also desires some affection, and Ong happily grants her granddaughter's wish. Later, the elderly residents of the neighborhood worry about the upcoming annual sports festival. With the closure of the school in Manamamachi due to another school opening in Kinamachi, there are no children left in the area, causing the population to age, making it challenging for them to compete and win the festival. Adding to their worries is the fear of someone having a heart attack during the event, resulting in Kinamachi's victory every year. Feeling disheartened and considering giving up, the elderly residents of Minamamachi find renewed hope when they see Setu and his newfound strength, viewing him as a beacon of hope and even bowing to him. They implore Setu to participate in the festival with them, adamantly refusing to accept any refusal. Setu expresses frustration, feeling deceived as he thought he was attending a community center meeting. On the day of the sports festival, Heisuke Igarashi, the head of the neighborhood council of Kitamachi, arrives to mock his opponents from Minamachi. He teases them, claiming he heard they might not participate because all their participants are over 50 years old. To further emphasize his point, he showcases his young grandsons, including Shouta Igarashi, the star of the school's soccer team, and Daiki Igarashi, the captain of the school's baseball team. They all laugh at the idea of competing against elderly individuals, displaying confidence in their inevitable victory. However, Sano, the leader of the Manamamaki Neighborhood Association, counters by suggesting that they have a secret weapon prepared for this year's festival. Heisuke dismisses this as a joke until Setu and his companions suddenly appear completely rejuvenated, leaving Heisuke and his grandsons speechless. Heisuke even speculates that they might be Seiju's grandchildren, but Setu clarifies that they themselves have become young again. With this surprising revelation, the festival commences with a tug of war. Both teams exert maximum effort, but when Ain is persuaded to become Minamachi's cheerleader, their morale soars, leading them to their first victory. Ain feels a bit bashful about being a cheerleader at her age, but she's intrigued to see her husband enjoying such activities. As the relay race progresses to the three-legged race, where pairs run with their feet tied together, Shouta and Daki strive to compensate for their earlier loss in the tug-of-war. Heizuki is hopeful for victory, counting on the brothers' long history of practicing sports together, giving them an advantage in understanding each other's movements. However, just as Shouta and Daki approach the finish line, Ain and Shuzu effortlessly overtake them, seemingly gliding through the race without any visible struggle. Despite their feet being tied, the Seidu couple's coordination is impeccable, a testament to their nearly 70 years of being together. Shuzu adjusts his pace to match Ain's rhythm perfectly, allowing them to cross the finish line first. With this victory, the Seidu couple adds another win to minimum matches tally, leaving Heisuk and his grandsons feeling frustrated and defeated. Shouta and Daki realize that competing isn't as simple as they initially thought, while Heisuk seethes with anger over the fact that Shuzu not only took Ain away from him in the past but also managed to steal his grandchildren's joy now. Ain appears to apologize for getting too caught up in the games, attempting to console the two. Heisuk questions why Ain isn't with her husband, and Ain explains that Shuzu has become quite popular after winning the relay, and is currently surrounded by admirers. To lighten the mood, Ain brings out a meal to share with everyone, extending the offer to Heisuk and his grandsons. They all eat together, reminiscing about the passing of Heisuk's wife 3 years prior. During the meal, Ain remarks that Shouta and Daki bear a striking resemblance to their grandfather when he was younger, triggering memories of Heisuk's romantic feelings for Ain in the past. This revelation surprises the grandsons, who realize that their grandfather's interest in Ain caused the rift with Shuzu, and encourages the boys not to dwell on their loss and to strive for a comeback in the multi-sport relay the following year, earning their admiration while leaving Heisuk fuming. A week after the relay, Heisuk sends Shouta to deliver something to the Sato couple's house to thank Ain for her help that day. When the boy arrives, Mino greets him at the door and thanks him for the delivery, inviting him inside. Shouta agrees to enter but feels nervous being alone with Mino, especially since his family is out shopping. Although they're in the same class, Mino is popular and Shouta struggles socially, making him feel awkward and unsure of how to act. To ease the tension, Shouta starts playing with his phone, but Mino becomes curious and approaches him, increasing his anxiety. Kate arrives with her in-laws and stands at the door, unsure of what to do. Inside, they learn the reason for Shota's visit. Shuzu is friendly to the boy, but Ain and Kiai's presence makes Shouta feel like he's being judged. Trying to make conversation, Shuzu asks if they're in the same class, and Mino praises Shota's intelligence and athleticism, leading Kate to whisper approvingly to Ain about him. Seeing them whispering, Shuzu attempts to intervene by asking Shouta if he likes any girl, but Ain stops him from prying. After saying goodbye, Mino invites Shouta to come back anytime. Kate and Ain find it amusing how formally they bid farewell, realizing they weren't even close friends. As Shouta leaves, Mino regrets not having more time alone with him, quietly wishing she could have talked to him longer. Shuzu overhears his granddaughter's comment but decides to keep it a secret. Meanwhile, Shouta asks his grandfather to send him to do something at the Sato's house, giving him an excuse to go back there again. The next day, Mino talks to her grandparents and learns that Ain confessed her feelings to Shuzu first. He explains that, although he was happy to hear it because he had always been interested in Ain, he had to turn her down because, at that time, marrying for love was difficult. Mino's great-grandfather was conservative and wanted to arrange a marriage for Shuzu. Mino finds it terrible that Shuzu couldn't choose his own spouse, and Ain explains that family influence was significant back then. She asks what her grandfather did, and he reveals that he considered running away with Ain, but they resolved the issue differently. Ain intervened before Shuzu's arranged marriage and told the girl she wouldn't allow her to marry him. Shuzu praises Ain for her courage, and Mino feels proud of her grandmother. Ain suggests that the girl already had feelings for someone else and only agreed to the arranged marriage reluctantly. Then Miyuno pleads with her grandmother to act as if she were the girl, and reenact what she said back then. Ain feels a bit embarrassed but notices her husband looking at her expectantly. She decides to make this effort for him and her granddaughter, who are both filled with pride as they witness the enactment. In an apple orchard, two young boys express their belief that farming is a job for older people, and that young folks like them should move to the city, maybe even Tokyo, to make money. One of the boys is confident he can quickly find a girlfriend in a big city. Suddenly, they notice a beautiful young woman instead of the elderly couple who usually tend to the orchard. The girl greets them politely, causing the boys to run away in embarrassment. Further away, they assume she's the daughter or granddaughter of the elderly couple until her husband arrives, and she affectionately calls him dear old man, leaving the boys even more perplexed. As the man arrives with his truck full of apples, he advises the boys to be careful on their way home and drives off with the beautiful woman as if nothing unusual happened. This encounter changes the boys' perspective, and they decide they want to become farmers when they grow up. In a flashback to when the couple were still elderly, Ain asks to discard some flyers, but changes her mind when she sees a dress on sale for 5,000 yen. She decides to keep the flyer to plan dinner later. The next day, young Nine asks young Shuzu if he went anywhere today. To be continued, the man replies that he just took a light walk, so his wife is confused to see a package on the ground. Upon opening it, she sees it's the dress she wanted so much and assumes her husband bought it. She reciprocates with affection, but Shuzu realizes he's been caught. Later, they silently prepare dinner together, then watch a romantic movie at Mino's request. In the movie, Shuzu notices that today's youth are watching some extreme stuff, in his opinion. For him, even if there's no more kissing between him and his wife, it's much more important that they understand each other so well. Ain doesn't seem to agree so much with her husband as she's paying attention to the kissing scene. When Shuzu draws her attention to this, Ain sees no other option but to ask him for something. Soon, Shuzu accepts his beloved's request, and the two reenact the kiss they just saw in the movie. Despite their efforts, Ain can't feel the expected effect after all. They've been together for 50 years, and they're no longer teenage lovers. With that, the man already assumes the stance of "I told you so," because according to him, that's something for young people. Ain agrees on the surface, but inside, she's sweating. In the late afternoon, an old friend of the couple arrives at their house and asks Mino if they're home because she brought mountain asparagus and other gifts. As the lady had an extremely strong accent, the young woman couldn't understand a word of what she was saying. To save the situation, Ain appears celebrating the arrival of Mrs. Kakia from the fish market. Kakia doesn't understand what's going on, so she asks her friend why all the fuss. Ain replies that she just got a little younger, so the lady assesses Mino to notice that she's really the same age as her dear grandson. And 1-3, so she offers him to the girl. Then Ain hugs the girl and says she won't let her marry yet, but Mino would love it if it were with her grandfather. Later, the daughter of the couple's second son, Takahiro, fought with her father and ran away to her grandmother's house. Even though she's happy to have somewhere to spend the night, young Sayori doesn't understand how the old lady got so young like this. Ain offers something for the girl to eat, but she's sulking and refuses because the bullying she's been facing has impacted her psyche a lot. Shiori is the classic school nerd, and besides being teased for it, at home her father acts as if she has to meet his expectations, forcing the girl to study medicine. Therefore, the girl thinks she's lost everything tonight: her desire to study, her future prospects, and her own father. However, Ain argues that just the fact that the girl is crying is proof that she cares and keeps fighting. When she was a child, Shiori said she wanted to be a doctor to cure all the diseases in the world. And even though she's changed her mind today, Shiori has never stopped being a beloved granddaughter. Hearing this, the girl bursts into tears and enjoys her grandmother's hug, besides asking to have dinner with her. In another flashback from the past, Ain apologizes to her husband for not being able to travel on vacation because she got sick, but the man is understanding and puts his wife's health first. Ain encourages him to take little Yoshiaki for a walk on the beach, but Shuzu thinks it's not the same without his wife by his side. Ain jokes that the guy is eager to see her in a bikini, so he teases that he also wants to make other guys at the beach jealous. Back to the present, Ain thinks that young people are really showing off their bodies too much everywhere lately. While she wonders what kind of bikini would make Shuzu happy to see her wearing. She knows he's a pervert, but maybe walking around in a short bikini is too much for her. Therefore, she decides to wear the white dress she received the other day. Peeking into her grandmother's dilemma, Shiori advises her to be more daring and show off that beautiful body God gave her for the world to see. Ain reminds the girl that she's old inside, but Shiori doesn't see anything wrong with her grandmother showing off a bit for her husband. Finally, Ain decides to think about it while making dinner, so Shiori tells her grandfather that the woman left and says he's hopeless because everything was a plan to convince Ain to wear a short bikini. The following day, the man who attempted to scam Ain got caught by the police. While watching the news on TV, Shuzu warns his wife to be cautious, knowing that scammers often target people after 6 p.m. when the phone lines are less monitored. Later, Ain realizes that her eyesight has improved so much that she no longer needs her glasses. She can even see things that the young Mino can't. With a mischievous motive, Mino asks her grandmother if she can read the newspaper without her glasses. When Ain successfully reads the article, Shuzu joins them. Mino then challenges her grandmother to read specific words from the newspaper, and Ain effortlessly completes the sentence, "Darling, you are charming." Mino teases her grandparents, suggesting that Ain is shamelessly flirting with Shuzu. They playfully continue the game, prompting Mino to finish the sentence, "I like someone, and that person is." However, Mino tries to avoid embarrassment and ends the game abruptly. Later, while watching a romantic movie, Mino asks Ain if she and Shuzu ever held hands. Ain explains that holding hands at their age is more about supporting each other than expressing romantic affection. Hearing this, Mino remarks on the lack of romance between her grandparents. Upon returning from shopping in the neighborhood, the couple feels content about buying Chinese cabbage. As the cold weather sets in, Shuzhu notices that Ain isn't wearing a glove on her right hand. Deep down, she hopes her husband will notice and offer his hand to warm hers. However, Shuzhu hesitates, fearing that holding hands would be giving in to their granddaughter's whims. Despite Ain dropping hints about feeling cold, Shuzhu remains oblivious until he suddenly looks at his hand. With her heart racing, Ain gathers the courage to reach out and hold her husband's hand. Later, they share their rejuvenation story with their second son, Takahiro. Although Takahiro is puzzled by their youthful appearance, he's glad to see his parents feeling great and full of life. Upon examining his mother, Takahiro notices that her breathing has become steadier, and her pulse has slowed down. Convinced that his parents have indeed become younger, Takahiro promises to provide updates once they have more information. However, a medical examination reveals that Ain has liver cancer. Since she recently recovered from gastroenteritis, the doctors recommend further tests, including blood tests and a tomography scan. Treatment will be determined based on the results of these tests. Upon hearing the news, Takahiro recalls his vow to become a doctor to save his mother. However, he realizes that all he could do was connect her with a skilled physician. As he witnesses his mother's declining health each day, Takahiro feels helpless. Despite not directly intervening, he finds solace in the thought that his efforts have brought some form of reward, prompting tears as he remembers his promise to his mother. Reflecting on the past, Shuzhu and Ain's bond with their farm and lifestyle deepened as their children grew. Everything seemed promising until a sudden typhoon shattered their apple tree in half. Despite their efforts to save it, the tree struggled to survive. Through years of dedication and hard work, they witnessed the miraculous appearance of a golden apple on its withered branches. As Shuzhu cuts the apple, he considers placing it on their Shinto altar, but Ain believes it would be a waste. Its allure is too tempting to resist, almost beckoning to be eaten. Ultimately, they decide to share the fruit. Meanwhile, the apple tree, grateful for the carrot received, vanishes in a mystical manner. After consuming the apple, Ain awakens in an entirely unfamiliar setting, facing a massive, solid glass structure. Suspended in the air, the glass rotates, resetting its countdown before crashing onto Ain. It becomes evident that Ain was recounting a dream about the Harjlas, with Shuzhu revealing he had the same dream. Perplexed by the coincidence, Ain realizes that it's their 58th wedding anniversary. She suggests celebrating with something special, like a cake, but Shuzhu dismisses the idea, claiming cake is for children. However, Ain sees through his facade, knowing he enjoys surprises. As she checks the refrigerator for red rice she prepared for the evening, Ain discovers a piece of cake placed beside it. She playfully throws it at Shuzhu, exposing his bluff. In return, Shuzhu unveils the rice prepared by Ain. Ain jokingly questions if Shuzhu deceives their granddaughter too, to which he replies that he reserves such playful deceit only for Ain, his beloved. Amidst the laughter and surprises, the couple celebrates their anniversary, cherishing the tradition of sharing joyful moments together. After the meal, Shura reminisces about her past. After graduating from middle school, she began working on a farm, leaving little time for study. For a brief period, she attended a women-only school in Tokyo, which felt like a dream. She enjoyed luxuries like eating white rice whenever she wanted and experiencing the refreshing flow of water from the faucet, reminiscent of a waterfall. However, the outbreak of war changed everything. The school she attended was destroyed, plunging Shura into a life of suffering and loneliness in the swampy fields. It was during this difficult time that she met the love of her life, and suddenly, the hardships seemed more bearable. Shuzhu recalls Tokyo as a bustling capital where one could find anything they desire. However, Ain emphasizes the unique charm of countryside life, highlighting aspects that city living cannot replicate. Despite Ain's insistence on keeping a secret, Shuzhu's curiosity is piqued. Later, Shori arrives with a video game, believing it would be a good gift for her grandparents to prevent dementia. However, Shuzhu believes that traditional games like Menko, Tag, or Spinning Tops would be more suitable for children. As they reminisce about starting a game called Danger in the Rice Field 3, Shuzhu is afraid of the undead. Wallam repeatedly chants the phrase Namu Amida Butsu, seeking refuge in Amida Buddha. In the game, an old man continuously warns that trouble is looming, leading Shuzhu to believe the character may be suffering from dementia. When they discover a healing herb, and worries about the consequences of taking it from someone else's home, fearing punishment from the Buddhas. The grandfather doubts the effectiveness of healing through eating a sour cassava root, reflecting on the plight of the undead. The couple agrees that the zombies didn't choose their fate and must be put out of their misery by shooting them in the head. After eliminating the enemies one by one, a zombie drops a chainsaw. Since the husband already has a shotgun, the wife takes the chainsaw. Nearby, zombies are wreaking havoc in the rice field, prompting the farmers to show no mercy. Together, they dispatch every undead creature until the rice field is free from their menace. The following day, they have completed all achievements in the game, so they decide to stop playing because there is nothing left to do. Later, Mino returns home and reunites with Shiori after a long time. With a playful smile, Shiori embraces her cousin, who tries to gently push her away. Although they attend the same school, they rarely see each other because their classes are in different buildings. In their childhood, they were close friends and often played together, but as Shiori points out, those days are now in the past. For Mino, what remains significant is Shiori's deep affection for their grandparents. Shiori's bond with them is so strong that she continues to stay at their house. Mino affectionately calls her act tough, but she's still a sweetheart inside. However, Shiori corrects Mino, expressing that her feelings toward her grandparents are more nuanced than just mere liking. Unfortunately, their conversation is overheard by Shizu, who misinterprets Shiori's words and feels hurt, believing his granddaughter dislikes him. Despite Shiori's initial stubbornness, she eventually relents and explains to her grandfather that her words were not meant to hurt him. While she doesn't explicitly express her love for him, she asks him not to hate her, which touches Shizu's heart. He softens, grateful for Shiori's presence and the love she shows in her own way. Sometime later, Shizu once again finds himself in the recurring dream where he's facing a hard glass, just like his wife. Shizu reflects on how, since they regained their youth, they've been cherishing their time together. Despite this, there are still many experiences they haven't had, like their honeymoon in Yoshiaki. With their bodies rejuvenated, they can now pursue dreams that were once lost to old age, and they savor each moment as if time could reverse at any instant. However, on this particular day, that's exactly what happens. Upon waking up, Shizu rouses his wife and shows her that he has suddenly lost his youth. He reassures her that he still doesn't feel the joint pains as before, but he worries that she may prefer his younger self. In response, she clarifies that it wasn't his youth or age that made her fall in love, but rather his essence as a person, the one and only in her eyes. Listening to his wife's words with affection, Shizu realizes she's right. Viewing old age as something negative is disrespectful to all the shared history they've experienced together because until recently, it was their reality. However, their age never hindered their love and commitment to each other. Even after regaining his youth, Shizu found himself forgetting his true self, despite appearing old. Therefore, despite still having his elderly body, Shizu is determined to fulfill the honeymoon they once promised. He feels too young at heart to give up on life's adventures. Meanwhile, at the Saiku clinic, Takahiro is puzzled by his parents' situation. Despite looking old, Shizu still possesses the physical strength of a young man. However, his internal organs, like his liver and kidneys, haven't fared as well, warning against overexertion. In a private conversation with his mother, Takahiro shares his concern about Ime's health. Despite appearing youthful, she now has the body of a healthy 20-year-old. If she ages slowly from this point, it raises worries about her long-term health in the years ahead of her. Although Ime isn't afraid of death, she worries about outliving her husband, who may pass away first, considering that if she lives another 70 years, their children and grandchildren might no longer be alive. Aine is deeply troubled by the prospect of dying alone. Later, Shuzer gathers the family to reveal that they have aged once again. Despite this, Ime still has concerns about her father's arm, which is showing signs of deterioration. To prove his strength, he engages in an arm wrestling match with his son, Yoshiaki. Although Yoshiaki urges caution, his father is confident, especially after his son offers to treat him to a room with an outdoor bath if he wins. In a moment of distraction, Shuzu daydreams about relaxing in a hot tub with his wife, causing his veins to stiffen with excitement. With Mino acting as judge, the match begins and ends quickly with Mr. Shuzu Secto claiming victory, much to the delight of his wife, Aine. Later, while shopping, Shuzu feels self-conscious about their appearance as an older couple, leading him to distance himself from Aine out of shame. He even suggests pretending they're not married when they go out together. However, when a clerk assumes Shuzu is shopping for his granddaughter, Aine proudly corrects the misunderstanding, reaffirming their relationship. On their way home, Aine assures Shuzu that she wants nothing more than to be his wife, regardless of others' opinion. As time passes, Shuzu notices that Aine hasn't been eating her favorite treat in front of him like they used to when they were younger. He understands that he's at risk of developing diabetes due to his age. But Aine doesn't share the same concern. Concerned about her health, he questions Aine, but she brushes it off, saying she'll eat later. In the early hours of the morning, Aine indulges in the sweets alone once again, fearing that tempting Shuzu with the treat might worsen his health now that he has aged again. However, Shuzu, vigilant this time, catches her in the act. Despite her excuses, he understands her concern for him. Seeing her joy while enjoying her favorite treat, he believes it's the best medicine. The couple comes to an understanding and makes a pact to enjoy the treat without guilt. Reflecting on her past, Ain recalls the hardships she faced after her parents passed away and she had to live with her maternal relatives. Despite her father's arrogance, she was despised by her mother's family. Additionally, she struggled to understand their dialect, further isolating her. Finding solace at a Shinto shrine, she met Seru, who offered her food when he heard her stomach growl. Regardless of her background, he believed no one should go hungry. Over time, Shuzu began frequenting Ain's house, causing her discomfort as she tried to prevent misunderstandings about their relationship. To Ain, Shuzu seemed too restless and uneducated, making her doubt if he could truly win her heart. However, in the present day, Ain's heart softened like melted butter when, on an ordinary day, Shuzu had the hard glass dream again after a long time. Shuzu believes that turning the hard glass back could restore his youth, so he eagerly tries his luck. Upon success, the old man reverts to his former youthful appearance, but instead of celebrating, Ain simply asks him to fix his messy hair. Shuzu's return to youth sparks a debate, and Ain questions whether they will grow old and die like everyone else. Shuzu believes the hard glass works like the others, with its sand counting time as it should, eventually running out. Though uncertain about the future, Shuzu thinks their miraculous youth will end when the sand runs out. He reassures Ain not to worry about eternity or outliving their children and grandchildren. As for Ain, she's the only person Shuzu doesn't want to leave behind. He'll be by her side no matter what. This brings an end to our episode 3. Subscribe our channel for more of amazing anime recaps.